Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, and back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. Today, we're going to be focusing on Hive Mind. Now, in this video, we're going to be deep diving their stats and how they stack up against the roster of Marvel Strike Force. And also, I do want to do a little bit of a kit dive on Void Knight and Gwenom. I'm not going to go through everything, but I do want to kind of showcase certain aspects of their kit and why I think they're going to be really amazing in certain other game modes that's not raids. Obviously, we know this is the upcoming raid team with Red Goblin yet to be announced as far as his kit goes. But with the Void Knight's offer gonna be coming around the corner, I want to kind of get to the bottom of whether or not he might be worth unlocking early, whether that's for people who spend or for using power cores. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. Now, the first part of the video, I want to go over the huge changes in stats between Venom and Carnage and take a look at some of the other characters before we dive into the actual kit portion and where I think some of these other characters, the newer characters, are going to be valid in Beyond Raids. Now, all of these characters, the numbers itself honestly are not super important, but it's benched at level 95, 7 yellow, 7 red, blue ISO 4, not 5, gear tier 16, yeah, I know, and Stark Tech 25%. Again, the numbers itself, it's not really that significant. What matters is the rating and how they're benched across the other characters with the same values. So taking a look at Venom, though, both Venom and Carnage, we'll see down below, like their old ratings, I grabbed this before the update so that you could take a look at the before and after. And I think this is really interesting to see sort of basically how far they've come with the rework. So you can see they're all in the red, and basically anyone that's like kind of like past the top 100 get the red, because that means that their stats are honestly pretty low as far as the game's concerned. But you can see how bad it is, like 181, 239, like pretty back of the pack, honestly. We have like, what, 260 characters maybe at this point, so that's pretty bad. But look at the new stats for Venom. So we have top 33 for health, top 35 for damage, armor better but not amazing, but it's okay because he does have not on spawn but on turn with the defense up stuff that he gives to the team. 110 in armor, 90 in focus, and 116 in resistance. Now the focus part, not that big of a deal because it's not, this part's not included, but he does get an extra 100% focus with a Spider-Verse character on the team, which is obviously going to include, you know, any of the most of the Hive Mind characters are going to include that. So his focus is going to be a lot better than what's advertised in the rating here. So that's good. It's just, it doesn't include it in the MSF.GG stats table because it doesn't know whether or not you actually have a character or not. So his stats are actually pretty good, and I'm surprised his damage is as high as it is, given that he does not actually have a damage passive. So that one's a little bit impressive there. Of course, all of these characters require alien spores, and that's a whole another conversation that, you know, buy as many alien spores as you can when you start to see them. Let's take a look at Carnage. Again, his stats were pretty terrible too. Oh, one thing I actually want to note is that Venom did get an increase in his speed from 93 to 107. Still pretty slow, but he does gain 10% speed per turn up to 30%, which I think is going to help in the long term. That's actually not bad. 30%, that's going to bring him up to like 100, I don't know, 138 or 140 or something like that. Like it's quite substantial by the time he actually gets going. So that part's good. Carnage was a pretty fast character already, but the other stats were pretty garbage. His new stats, however, pretty good. Health is at top 46, damage top 35. One thing that I want to point out, and this one is really weird, a lot of the Hive Mind characters have the exact same stat values. So if you notice up here, Venom and Carnage have the exact same stat value, top 35. Their health is different, but their damage is the same. Their armor is actually the same. Their focus is the same, and their resistance is the same. So I don't know if this is just laziness on part of the developers, but when I started doing this, I was like, what's going on? And actually, you'll notice it's kind of similar in some instances down below with the newer characters. So this part's really weird. I don't understand why they did that. Carnage, of course, has tons of speed bar manipulation, you know, when characters get low hit points later in battle. These are just some notes that I wanted to mention about the characters. Let's talk about Gwenom. So Gwenom's over here. Now, her health is top 47. That's pretty good. Damage, top 35. Hey, who also has top 35? Carnage and Venom. For some reason, again, same stats. Now, the armor is top 110. Focus is 9. She does have a focus passive, so that does separate her from the other characters. And her resistance is 116. Hey, her resistance stat is the same as Carnage. Is her armor the same as Carnage? It sure is. They all have the same goddamn stats. Why? I don't know why. Does it mean that they're bad? It doesn't. I mean, like 35 is still really good in damage. The armor, symbiotes were also traditionally pretty squishy. It's basically you need to get all these buffs and things, and you got to get them going, and that's basically what they're going to do. And possibly Red Goblin might do something to bring them all together as well. Gwen's speed is 120. She also gives 60% focus to herself and Hive Mind and Spider-Verse actually as well. We're going to talk about this part of Gwenom because I think it's going to be really valuable in places like Dark Dimension. So yeah, that's why she has an insane number 9 focus stat in the game. Void Knight. Now this one is really interesting. He is the fourth healthiest, I can't even say it, fourth highest HP in the game. Now who has higher than him? Nightcrawler is number 3. I believe Skrull is number 1, and Apocalypse is number 2. So that gives you a pretty good idea in terms of how healthy he is. He also does have an HP passive, so that explains it. He also has the armor passive, which explains his 12th place in armor. Again, same damage stat as everyone else, which again isn't bad. It's just weird they did that. The focus, I believe, is the same as all of them as well. This part's not super important because on his ultimate he does get like plus 5,000% focus. So like if that doesn't land, I don't know what's going on. And his resistance is top 55. So Void Knight actually has some pretty solid stats across the board, which he's not really an OG character. He's not an OG character, but you know, like I guess because he was the pole and whatnot. Stats are still pretty good. His 113 base speed might seem kind of poor, but he does get on spawn 25% speed bar. This is basically an effective speed of 141 and a quarter on spawn outside of raids. Inside of raids, he does get speed up to self and team. So that's going to help all of them. If you notice that they're kind of like anything under 125 is kind of slow these days, I would say. But in terms of, you know, on spawn speed up in raids, you know, that's pretty good. So they're going to outspeed most characters in raids. So that wouldn't be too big of a problem there. Now, I have Red Goblin listed, but we don't know exactly what's going on with him. So we're not touching on that. Now, for the second half of the video, I want to talk about Gwenom and Void Knight separately. I want to talk about where I think you might get some value out of them. I'll tell you right now, just actually, I've gotten some really great value in Venom in a kiln. A kiln may or may not be over by the time this video goes out, but I just wanted to mention that even that the new characters and their stats, the reworks have been really, really good. Carnage, I just don't think his kit is as good as Venom's in terms of like standalone value, but Venom's definitely paid some dividends. So the first thing I want to do is talk about Void Knight. Oh, no, that was the wrong thing. That was the wrong tab open. That was my YouTube channel. Okay, so here is Void Knight. And specifically, I want to pull mention to his special and his ultimate. I want to talk about why there actually might be some value in Void Knight anyways, outside of raids, standalone, because he steals up to 1 ability energy from the primary target. In raids, this is 3. But this could have some value when it comes to arena. And because he does have that on-spawn speed up, I wish I could test this. I honestly believe that he may have some value when it comes to going, if not first, second, and being able to pull some ability energy from Super Skrull. Now, that's not going to impact his special, but it will impact his alt. And so if you're able to, with one of your other characters, as Void Knight as one of your side characters, and being able to pull an extra energy out of Skrull, that means that if you have Skrull, that there's a good chance that your Skrull is going to get to it before he does. And we know that basically things just not fall apart. You basically start winning after the ult goes off for sure and everyone starts dying. So kind of first to ult is might be the new arena meta that might end up coming. The other part of it is even if you don't have Skrull, and the reason, because this won't work on powered Apocalypse anyways, because I'm pretty sure that anyone who starts with full energy, even if you steal 1, they're going to get that on their turn, so it's not going to make a huge difference. So for Apocalypse, that's why I didn't mention it, but particularly for Skrull, this might have some value in like non-Skrull, non-Apocalypse metas, maybe the Secret Defenders possibly as well. But I'm not really in that with just the Secret Defenders arena meta, so I'm not entirely sure. But the Dark Horizon Ultimate pulls all enemies, basically it's a Magneto gravitation pull, pulls them all close together. So any adjacent attacks like Super Skrull Special, things like that, is going to have significant value. So if he's able to survive anyways, past turn 1, in Arena, depending on what you're going up against, this might have some additional value as well. It does apply ability block for 2 turns to the primary target. This part's really good too. And it has 5,000 extra focus. So depending on what your arena meta is, this could have significant value both on the ultimate and the special, depending on what you're wanting to do, depending on who you're going up against, if that makes sense. Ability block is always a very solid move. Of course, in raids, this is just really amazing because you're doing 2 turns of ability block to all targets. Anyways, but even outside, I think there's going to be some good value here too. So just wanted to make mention of that. That's probably the primary stuff that you're going to be using Void Knight for as far as outside. This might have some Cosmic Crucible standalone value as well on the offense. If you're able to basically decide who it is that you want to steal energy from, or even just bringing characters together in for maybe other teams that have a lot of adjacent damage, that might have some significant value there too. So I think that Void Knight may in fact play a role in the arena meta, but it's too early to tell, and I haven't been able to test that because I can't. Maybe someone else has. Maybe one of the envoys will have maybe been able to test that, but I haven't. So unfortunately, I cannot test this in arena to prove my theory. But I think that based on what I see with this kit, that there's going to be some value, and we don't really get characters that have ability energy steal very often. So this is something that I would definitely keep an eye on. Now, second, Gwenom. Oh boy, this character is going to be amazing in Dark Dimension 6. Sorry, Dark Dimension City. I'll just say Dark Dimension City. Any Dark Dimension, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wherever you're going in the future as well. I think this is going to be really amazing. Not to mention that this is going to be a character that you're going to want to build anyways as part of the Hive Mind raid team. How high exactly we need to build the team, we don't really know yet. But I mean, I would put the expectation out there that, if you want to do Incursion 2, plus the higher difficulties as well, that you're going to probably want to build this team pretty big anyways. That's just my thoughts, even though we don't know what Red Goblin is going to be like yet. This is a Hero City Brawler, Spider-Verse, Symbiote, Hive Mind. Why is that important? Well, we'll find out down below. So she does actually apply some pretty good debuffs. She flips 2 positive effects to negative effects, which is amazing. I think Venom does something similar. Apply defense down as well if they don't already have it, and apply 2 bleed to the primary target. So within the context of Dark Dimension, this is going to be really good with Ghost Rider Robbie. It's going to add additional bleeds, which is going to give him more turns. Maybe you're flipping regens to bleeds as well. That could add more to that as well. The cooldowns are pretty low as far as a character goes, which is another reason why I think she's going to be really amazing. So her special, Tongue Twister, gain the opposite of all negative effects, excluding bleed on the primary target. So whatever negative effects they have, she's gonna. If you guys know anti-venom, basically she's gonna take all of them and give it and turn them into positive effects on herself. I'm pretty sure that's what I understood it to be. Also, a 2-turn stun, that is stellar. Really, really good. That's gonna have a lot of application elsewhere. Frankly, this whole team actually might be quite good in places like War and Crucible, given like the wide variety of what they can do. Also does attacks adjacent targets. Unfortunately, does not do any more debuffs there. It does generate 1 ability to energy to herself. I don't think you're going to want to stack too many Hive Mind characters into Dark Dimension, though, because you have the Alien Spore Crunch. Every single character requires them, which means you might be able to take 2, but I think any more than that is unrealistic. And so you're probably looking at, in terms of Dark Dimension City going forward, you're looking at a combination of Gwenom. You're looking at Sinister 6 characters, a lot of amazing Sinister 6 characters, and possibly Ghost Rider Robbie. That's going to be your best bet in Dark Dimension City. And even going into Dark Dimension 7 City, which is probably 6 months away from now, I think that's probably what it's going to look like. Now, the ultimate, this is where things get juicy. So you clear barrier from all targets, but you're burying Self, Hive Mind, and Spider-Verse allies for 15% of this character's max health. By the time I think that Dark Dimension 7 City becomes a thing, you're probably going to have Gwen and Farrell. Maybe you might have Gwen and Farrell within 4 months, right? So when she comes out, this is really nice because it also is going to work on all Sinister 6 characters as well in Dark Dimension. Attacks all enemies for 400% damage and offense down for 2 turns, which is a really great debuff to have in Dark Dimension. And it gives offense up and defense up to herself and all of the Sinister 6 because they're Spider-Verse as well. So really, really, really good skill. I think that's going to get a lot of dividends. Now, I just really like her kind of cross synergy there. She's also giving Spider-Verse allies 60% focus. You might not need that in Dark Dimension, but nonetheless, this is just really, really good. So she's focused on not only our own team, but also other Spider-Verse, which is a very expansive list of characters, right? Symbiotes, Sinister 6, Tangled Web might be also Spider-Verse characters as well. Like there's just lots of applicability for Gwenum. So really, really love Gwenum. Actually, I think she's better than Void Knight, frankly, in terms of like the wider usage, but I love Dark Dimension. You might still want to use Void Knight in Dark Dimension 6 Cosmic, but I would probably do him second. I would think that Gwenum would probably be a better character first and then Void Knight afterwards, but we're gonna have to see like how arena meta that these characters really are. As far as Venom and Carnage go, I don't think that they're going to be priorities for gear tiering. I think the newer characters are going to be much better. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Stats wise, they're pretty good. I think this is probably the first time that I've seen new characters in a new team with this much green. I think green stats in my ratings. As far as like, I just think it's super weird that like most of them share the same stat. Void, especially the damage. They all have the same damage stat. It's super weird. Most of them have the same focus except for Gwenum. And most of them have the same armor except for Void Knight. I just don't understand. The health is a little bit different on all the characters though. So yeah, that's Hive Mind. That's what I think about the viability of the new characters in other game modes. Let me know if there's something that I missed that maybe I should have thought of in the comments down below. Otherwise, have a great rest of the week, everyone. And until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.